You can work your entire life. You can save consistently for decades. And one day, you look back and realize something frightening. You did everything right. But the result feels completely wrong. Something doesn't add up. For years, people were taught a simple formula. Work hard. Spend less. Save consistently. And everything will be fine. That formula used to work. But the world it was built for no longer exists. Picture an ordinary adult. Stable income. Steady job. No luxury spending. Always trying to do the right thing with money. Their savings grow over time. But their sense of security doesn't. Each year, life feels heavier. Basic necessities become more expensive. Not because they spend more, but because everything around them costs more. The problem isn't that they don't know how to save. The problem is that saving alone is no longer enough. Saving protects numbers. But life isn't measured in numbers. Life is measured in purchasing power. And that purchasing power is being eroded year after year. Even when official inflation is reported as low by institutions like the Federal Reserve. The inflation people feel in daily life is much higher. This is the paradox that makes millions feel like they're running faster, but never moving forward. Saving used to be a reasonable strategy. It worked in a stable world where prices rose slowly, jobs were predictable, and money held its value. That world has changed. Today, money doesn't sit still. The moment you hold onto it, its value begins to fade. Not because you manage it poorly, but because the environment around you is different. The cost of living doesn't rise evenly. It jumps. Housing climbs. Healthcare and insurance grow faster than income. Things that once felt basic now become long-term burdens. Saving starts to feel like pouring water into a bucket with a hole. You add more every month, but it keeps leaking from the bottom. The most dangerous part isn't losing money. It's the false sense of safety. Your balance goes up, so you believe you're making progress. Meanwhile, your purchasing power quietly shrinks. That's why so many people feel exhausted without being careless. They follow the rules, but the rules are no longer fair. So a natural question appears. If saving isn't enough, what actually creates real stability and long-term growth? When you realize that saving only helps you stand still, another question follows naturally. If not saving alone, then what actually moves you forward? The answer isn't earning a few extra dollars here and there. It's what your money does when you're not actively working for it. There's a massive difference between holding money and letting money participate in the economy. Money that sits still slowly loses value. Money placed correctly has the potential to grow. People who build long-term stability don't rely only on monthly income. They understand income has limits. Time has limits. Energy has limits. Instead of asking, "How much did I save this year?" they ask something far more important. Did my assets grow faster than my cost of living? That's the line between feeling safe and actually being safe. If these ideas are starting to change how you see money, subscribing helps you keep connecting the bigger picture. This isn't about quick tricks. It's about thinking in a way that survives change. And once money needs to move, another challenge shows up. Fear. That fear doesn't appear randomly. It's built over time. Market drops. Loss stories repeated over and over. Headlines designed to scare people away from action. So many choose to stand still. They know money is losing value. But they fear losing money more than slowly becoming poorer. This is where human psychology works against us. We avoid short-term pain, even if it guarantees long-term damage. Absolute safety sounds smart. But in a changing world, safe can become the biggest risk. Not because investing is always right, but because doing nothing is almost guaranteed to be wrong. People who move forward aren't fearless. They worry too. They hesitate too. But they understand the biggest risk isn't volatility. It's wasted time. Time can't be replaced. Every year money doesn't grow is a year of purchasing power permanently lost. If this feels familiar, it's not because you lack information. It's because emotion still controls the decision. Now imagine two people starting from the same place. Similar income. Similar habits. Similar savings. One chooses the familiar path. They save. They feel safe because they didn't make mistakes. They wait year after year. The other doesn't rush. But instead of only saving, they invest time into understanding money. How it moves. How risk is managed. How decisions can be made without emotion. At first, there's little difference. Sometimes the learner even feels behind. Because they're investing in knowledge before investing money. But over time, the gap becomes visible. Not because of luck, but because decisions are made from understanding, not fear. The key difference isn't the tool or the platform. It's having a clear mental framework. Most people think investing is complicated. The truth is, what's complicated is never being taught properly. No one is born knowing this. Some people just learned earlier. If you've saved long enough, been disciplined long enough, and still don't see clarity ahead, learning how to think about money systematically may be the missing turning point. Let's keep going. What we've talked about so far isn't just personal opinion or storytelling. It's backed by decades of research in behavioral economics. One core finding is simple but uncomfortable. People don't make money decisions using logic alone. We use emotions first, and then logic to justify them later. Studies show that losing money hurts far more than gaining the same amount feels good. That pain pushes people to avoid risk at all costs. Even when avoiding risk creates bigger losses over time. That's why so many people oversave. Not because it's the best strategy, but because it feels calmer in the short term. The problem is, the worst financial decisions rarely come from lack of information. They come from emotional reactions at the wrong time. When markets drop, fear pushes people away. When things feel safe again, they come back too late. This cycle repeats. And people conclude that investing doesn't work. In reality, what doesn't work is reacting emotionally. If you've ever felt like you understand what you should do, but still couldn't move forward, it's not because you're missing knowledge. It's because you don't yet have a mental framework strong enough to control emotion. And if the issue is behavior, not intelligence, then the real question becomes this: what is the biggest behavioral mistake that keeps people stuck for years? Even when they know better. Let's continue. The biggest behavioral mistake isn't ignorance. It's believing you already know enough to delay action. Many people fall into a quiet trap. They read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts. They understand the basics. And then they stop. Not because they disagree, but because they tell themselves it's not the right time. The market feels uncertain. The timing doesn't feel perfect. Confidence isn't quite there yet. This is what researchers call the illusion of control. People believe that with just a bit more information, one more signal, one more confirmation, certainty will appear. But in finance, certainty never arrives. Research shows that people overestimate their ability to predict outcomes and underestimate the power of discipline and time. Waiting rarely reduces risk. It only delays decisions. And the cost of delay is lost time. Many people don't fail because they choose wrong. They fail because they never choose at all. Money doesn't grow because it's clever. It grows because it's placed into a system and given enough time to work. If you've been preparing carefully for years but haven't moved, the problem may not be missing knowledge. It may be the lack of a simple structure you can actually stick with. So the next question becomes practical. If perfection isn't required, and prediction isn't necessary, what principle allows someone to stay in the game without burning out? Let's keep going. Once fear, hesitation, and the need for perfection fall away, one core principle becomes clear. The people who last aren't the best forecasters. They're the ones who build a system they can live with long term. Money doesn't reward short-term intelligence. It rewards long-term consistency. Research consistently shows that long-term results don't come from perfect timing. They come from staying in the game. Not panicking during downturns. Not getting overconfident during good times. Large investment institutions have emphasized this for years. Simple strategies, diversification, low costs, and discipline tend to outperform complex strategies that lack consistency. That sounds boring. And because it's boring, most people can't stick with it. People like the feeling of constant action. Tweaking. Adjusting. Doing something. But in finance, too much action often causes more harm than good. A good system doesn't need daily attention. It needs trust strong enough that you don't break it. When emotions run high. If you want a path that doesn't drain your energy with constant worry. What you need isn't more information. You need a structure strong enough. That emotion doesn't control behavior. And once that structure exists, a deeper question naturally appears. If the goal isn't fast profits, and it isn't beating the market, then what is money actually for? Let's continue. When you stop obsessing over winning, over optimization, over proving yourself right, money starts to look different. It stops being the goal. It becomes a tool. Not for showing off. Not for comparison. But for flexibility. Flexibility of time. Flexibility of choice. Flexibility when life doesn't go as planned. Many people think wealth means having a lot of money. But eventually, they realize the real value is not being forced into decisions under panic. A good financial system doesn't make you rich fast. It makes you calm. Calm during market swings. Calm when income changes. Calm when unexpected events happen. That calm becomes the foundation for better long-term decisions. If you look back at the whole journey so far, from saving, to fear, to behavior, to systems, you'll notice a clear pattern. Money doesn't fail because tools are missing. It fails because life goals aren't clear. When you don't know what freedom means to you, you end up chasing numbers with no finish line. And this brings us to the most important moment. Before strategies, before tools, before returns, you have to answer one final question. What is money supposed to do in your life? Make you busier? Or give you more choices? That answer shapes everything that comes next. And once you reach that point, once money stops being a scoreboard and becomes a tool for living, everything finally connects. Nothing in this video says saving is wrong. Saving still matters. It creates stability. It protects you when life throws surprises. But saving was never meant to be the finish line. The real problem begins when discipline becomes the goal instead of freedom. When people believe that doing the right things long enough will automatically lead to a better life, even as the world around them keeps changing. Money no longer keeps its value just by sitting still. Living costs don't wait until you feel ready. And human emotion constantly pulls us toward short-term comfort, even when the long-term cost is standing still. The biggest lesson here isn't about where to invest, or which strategy is best. It's about how you think. Saving is the foundation, not the destination. The biggest risk isn't market movement. It's time passing without progress. And the real goal isn't complexity, but a simple system you can trust and stay with for years. In the end, money isn't meant to control your life. It's meant to give you calm. Give you options. Give you room to choose how you live. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think this way of looking at money makes sense? If you agree, comment number 1 below. Or if you see things differently, share your perspective so we can discuss it together. And if you want more honest, practical conversations about money, not hype, not shortcuts, not empty promises, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Next Capital so you don't miss future content. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel.